Absolutely. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending and coming and joining us to find out some tools that you can use to help you when that anxiety takes over and you're feeling that little bit of stress. But before we begin, let me just introduce you to Jean. This is Jean Kropper, and she is the founder of Paper and Pixel Workshops. Jean has taught purpose-driven art workshops for over 20 years in the USA, Canada, and around Australia. She's an internationally published author of 3 books, which together have sold over 30,000 copies. Oh, congratulations. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Now, Jean is an artist, a designer, and paper engineer, and she helps individuals express emotion and tell their own stories using paper through meditative drawing and art journaling. This makes participants' feelings and stories tangible and shareable, fostering connections with others. Now, in early December, Jean is launching an 8-session meditative drawing workshop online, and this gives workplaces and individuals themselves a fun, creative process that they can use to change state and will let go of uncomfortable emotions such as anxiety. Now, Jean has combined insights from her journey healing from PTSD with her art skills to create her workshops. Let's introduce Jean. Yay! Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
So, Jean, tell us a little bit about your books. So how long ago was it that you wrote your books?
Oh, it was a while ago. Yeah, it was quite a while ago. I wrote a book on hand bookbinding, how to recycle paper at home. And it has a mix of history of paper and writing surfaces, papyrus, and then tools to making the equipment to make your own paper at home, and then sort of art inspiration. And then I did 2 books on greeting cards and hand bookbinding. So
fantastic. Yeah. Well done. So I'm guessing your first love has always been art and always that passion.
Yeah, art, paper, yeah, communicating with paper. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll pass it over to you now, love.
Okay. Yep. And this is Jo Stevens, who I'm very happily collaborating with. And Jo Stevens is the founder of the Zen Zone. And Jo uses her expertise as a mindfulness and mindful movement coach to support clients' mental well-being with simple and effective mindful movement and breathing techniques that can help bring the stress levels down. The Zen Zone has created simple and effective online and face-to-face Zenergized programs that are guaranteed to quiet busy minds with quick and effective mindfulness tools. The Zen Zone has recently launched the Workplace Mental Health Zen program, which empowers workplaces with breathing movement tools to support their mental well-being. The programs are directed at the supervisor and staff levels through self-paced online modules that allow them to adapt the well-being tools to the workplace. The Workplace Zenergized programs are designed not only to support someone who's struggling with their mental well-being, but also to provide tools to self-manage stress. So yeah, I think with both of us, we agree that it's really important to give people tools to handle things themselves.
Absolutely.
And Jo is passionate about mental health due to her own struggles with depression. And her goal is to help people understand that their mental well-being is just as important as their physical well-being, and to provide practical mindfulness tools to help put the Zen back into their zone. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background and what led you to do this work?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jean. So my husband was diagnosed with PTSD after serving 27 years in the Australian Defence Force. And it was during that journey of him getting the help that he needed, the stresses at home, even leading up to before he actually acknowledged that there was a problem. It was a lot of stress at home, and I was trying to do everything, be everything. And had teenagers. Everybody knows what teenagers sometimes are like. They're high stress. And there was that, back and forth. And I was just trying to I was like the meat in the middle of the sandwich, really. And it just led me to have burnout, and so I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I really needed to, I was wasn't taking care of myself. I was putting everybody before myself. And so that led me on that journey of when I was diagnosed to realizing I couldn't continue the way I was. I had to make change. And that's when I like to call it the year of Jo. I went on this journey of self-reflection, learning about what mindfulness is, discovering new things, and bringing those into my everyday, getting the help that I needed, the professional help that I needed, to help me to get through the everyday. But one of the things, and that's why like Jean and I have come about, is that I realized I had to take care of myself. Yeah. And that is why I believe that we need to have these tools to help us self-manage our own stress when these things pop up, because it's going to pop up. Things are going to happen. We're always going to have things happen in our life. So yeah, I think Jean, your story is kind of similar in that way, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think that's one of the reasons we clicked, because I understood what you'd gone through. I'd been married for 19 years and had a son, and my husband became an alcoholic. He had a lot of pressures at work, and industries change, and you have to deal with lots of change, and it can be really hard. And we had a child, and he had a lot of dysfunction in his family background. He'd been through abuse as a child and had a lot of things that he hadn't dealt with, that he was trying to hide or just keep down and not deal with and forget. And that didn't work. That all sort of exploded, and he became very volatile. He was drinking every night and having tantrums and throwing things, and like you, home became unmanageable. And I was about to lose my job. My son was having trouble at school, and things had to change. And I was struggling. And my son and I moved out of our own home and just got an apartment just to have some peace. I didn't understand alcoholism, and had some really bad years just struggling. I kept trying to include his dad in his life, in our son's life. It wasn't working. And eventually I hit the wall and just was like, wow, I'm actually having trouble. I don't know what's wrong, what's going on. And I realized, well, it was actually a couple of years later, I realized I had PTSD, and that I needed some help. And so I had my own healing journey, and went through a whole process of different practitioners and acupuncture and craniosacral therapy and meditation, and through it all, I was doing art. And that was one of the things that was easy and that helped vent emotions, helped express things that I couldn't put into words. And and now I've sort of put together the insights from my own healing journey into my art workshops and sort of combined the two. And so that my workshops now are a mix of well-being and the art. That was where this came from. And now I really want to be able to help others, and not just artists, but anyone can use art. You don't need to have skill in art to just use it as a technique to vent and also for fun. Yeah,
absolutely. And art is a great mindfulness tool. It's a really great way just to turn off the mind when you're feeling that little stress and overwhelm. I love to color in. Coloring in is my favorite thing. I'm definitely not an artist, but I'm learning from Jean as we're going along. And that's the thing, though. You don't have to be a professional, and that's what I think some of us think that we have to be, but we don't. It's just about expressing ourselves and letting go of any of that built up tension or even happiness that we have, or when we can't even express how we're feeling. So art can be a really great way for that.
Yep. Okay, well, let's dive in. And I will share screen. Let me just begin.
I don't know if you've got any, we're going to grab some paper if you've got any, love.
Yep. So time for paper and a marker of any sort to start off with. So that's, there we go. We'll start sharing. Okay, good. All right. So materials needed. A couple of markers and paper. So if you need to run out and get that, that's just fine.
I've got some pencils. Even I've got a gray pencil.
Yep. Either's at the beginning, and I will play this. So I'm live and I'm just playing a video, but talking live over it, just so you know what's going on. Okay, yeah, so any of these sorts of markers is absolutely fine. And first, what we're going to do is what's called chaos drawing, which I think is the most wonderful description. We're basically going to be scribbling on a piece of paper, and it can look like this. And we're going to do 3 different drawings, or you can just keep going. I'm going to do 3 different drawings, and then you can just keep drawing through it. And it's a really wonderful way to focus the brain on what you're doing, because you need to pay attention a little to make the marks, but you're just making marks to vent emotion. It's not about making a pretty picture at all, as you can see. It's just about letting loose and making marks. And because you're focusing on something, the brain quiets down because you have to focus on what you're doing. So we'll be doing some rounded marks, some zigzag marks, and then later I'll show you, this is another drawing I did with chaos drawing, just a whole mix of expressive marks where you can madly draw on the page with lots of emotion. And just, yeah.
You know, instead of throwing things, maybe get a pencil out and
yeah. Okay, so just get out a marker, pencil, sheet of paper. It doesn't, And so I'll talk you through this. So first, I'm going to do one with rounded lines, just to show you that. And dive in whenever you're ready, and just have a go. Nobody's watching you, so you can just play. And I found just really useful to just concentrate and also to breathe with it. Sometimes I make noise, or you can put angry music on, and headbanger music on, and just
bit of AC/DC love, let it all out.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Rolling Stones, whatever it is that does it for you. And the making noise is good because it gets you breathing. So you can put yourself on mute, you can make ridiculous noises, it's fine. Just
Think about that frustration of that internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And sometimes if I'm really stressed out, I'll do 10 pages of this and just use it to vent emotion. It's cheaper than counseling, and it's just another thing you can do to let go. So just, we're filling a page and just
letting it out.
Page. Okay, you can just keep going with wherever you are in this. I'm going to do a page of angled marks, or sort of zigzaggy kind of marks. And you mimic whatever feels comfortable for you. So. You feel a bit foolish, you can hum. And you can do this with kids and pretend you're an animal. Say, I'm going to be a lion, and
roar it all out.
Just stay with what you're doing for a while.
Just going to show you all, like, there was a quote that I found that, that anger, like 1 minute of anger can weaken your immune system for 4 to 5 hours. So imagine, like, if you've got that tension in your body for so long, how much tension is in your body, and this is a great way just to let it out, and one of the best ways as well is laughter, because 1 minute of laughter can your immune system for 24 hours. So I think we need to laugh more. And that's a great way when we're doing this, is because it's not to take it seriously, just like really scribble it out, laugh at yourself and be like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy, and just like really just let it all go.
Yep. I think I've got one more drawing here. Yep. And and I've had all sorts of people. I had a friend come to a workshop who had just started cancer treatment. She had to make all these decisions about all sorts of treatments she was going to do, and was really stressed. And she was like, Jean, this is great. I don't want to think. I just need to vent. I'm, really distressed. And And I was like, hey, I'm really glad to help. That's terrific. So yeah. So this is the last of the 3. So just dive in and just stay with it for a little while. But make your own noises and
go. That frustration can be hard sometimes when you're holding it, you know, as I said, you're holding it in.
Yeah, I gave this video to my son when he just got a new job and he was learning all these things and all these demands were put on him. And he was like, you know, that's actually what I need to do, Mom. It's like,
more of that, just let it out. Because as I said, we hold it in so much and we've just got to let it go, you know, and it's not good holding in that tension because, you know, it does actually can manifest into other things. So we just really need to try and let it all go.
Yep. Yeah. And I had an artist friend said to me that she had an angry phone call with a relative, and, you know, she thought this was too below her because she was a professional artist or did, you know, really nice artwork. And she said, you know, after I did that, I wasn't angry anymore. And I said, hey, that's what it's about. It's not about making a pretty picture. It's just about letting go. And yes, you can use nice colors in this, you know, we'll do that later. But this is really just about venting and just letting it out.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So that's technique number 1.
Absolutely. I'll just share mine first. I love a little scribble.
Okay, I'll stop the sharing the screen.
Oh,
so everyone can show it again.
Like really letting it out.
Great.
And then this one was real. I love it. This one was that, even though it looks pretty ugly, it was my favorite because it's just really letting it go.
Yeah, and it's not about, hey, it's fine if it's ugly, because it's getting that ugly out of your head.
And then I did that last one too, which I think I was starting to calm down when I started to get to this one. But I think this one will be a really good one as well when I'm really feeling that stress.
Yeah.
And like you know, instead of like throwing things at my husband, maybe I need to draw it out.
Yes.
Joking, people, I don't actually do that.
But yeah, and strangely, I find at the end I feel quite energized. So it's like, oh, I don't feel angry anymore. I'm actually like full of energy in a good way rather than a pent up sort of way. So,
absolutely. And like making the noises and things like that, it really brings that fun into it, especially if you're doing, you know, you start laughing at yourself and you just be like, I'm a little bit crazy here. People could actually see me. And that just changes that whole mindset. And that's, you know, and that's what we want to do, is try and change that mindset.
Yeah, because it really is okay to be a bit ridiculous sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to show one of your?
Yeah, I'm going to share some breathing techniques, which is great as well when you're feeling that stress and you don't have the paper, you know, and you're somewhere or you're at home or whatever. And I was just saying, you know, you're feeling that frustration. So I'm going to show you some really great breathing techniques for that as well. And this is just, you know, I call it like releasing that, you know, in a stress and letting it all out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just start just with like some really nice breathing, like letting the air in. But what we're going to do is going to bring those shoulders right up and then drop them down. Okay, so we're going to take the first breath in, let's deep breath in, shoulders up, hold that breath, and then really let it out. Give a little shake when you let it out. That's it. Okay, now another deep breath in. And let it go. Make some noises. This is a great way when you're just feeling that anger and you need to let it out. Just let it all go. Let's do that one more time. Deep breath in. Hold that breath for a second and let it go. Give yourself a little shake. Let it go. Now let's just concentrate on that nice deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And we're just going to shake our fingers out as well. So nice deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Just giving those fingers a little shake, shaking out that tension. And let's just take it up to the sky. So really reach it out into the roof there. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. And that way you're opening up the diaphragm when you're actually lifting up your arms and getting that more oxygen into your body. And it just helps to, you know, change those thought patterns and just like release any tension, because I've got that built up tension that we might be having in our body. Okay, we're going to do those breaths one more time. We're going to raise up those shoulders like with that tension. And then when we breathe out, we're letting it out. Okay, you ready? Let's go. Breathe in. Hold it and let it go. Let it out. Okay, let's do it again. Deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. And one more time. Deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. Shake those fingers out. Just let it go. And let's just take some nice deep breaths in and out now. Slow ourselves down. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. Oh, there we go. So that's a really great way just to release that when you're feeling that tension, that inner dragon or that overwhelm, just like using those breath works. When you don't have the pencils, go and get those, use the breath work, and then go get your pencils and really let it out.
I like the inner dragon phrase. That's good.
Absolutely. We all have one. We all know that we do. It's natural to feel anger. And so you just got to release that inner dragon and let them out.
Yeah. And I think it's really helpful to know that you have tools to let go of strong emotions safely. That
Yes.
I think there's some people who feel afraid of feeling grief or afraid of anxiety or afraid of rage, and that sometimes they have trouble expressing strong emotions because they're afraid of going there. And
Yeah.
when you get used to doing some of these techniques, you can vent in healthy ways, that you're not going to hurt anyone. And
absolutely.
you can go in a room on your own and you can just do these techniques and know that you can bleed off that excess emotion. And hey, it's fine to be angry. There's a lot of situations it's appropriate to be angry, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just finding ways to manage yourself.
Absolutely expressing it in the right ways, not the wrong ways. Absolutely love that. That's so true. Anger is just one of our normal emotions that we have, but we just don't want it to go too far. And when you're feeling that, go and do some breath work. Go and scribble it out. Let it go before you say things you don't really want to say to someone. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you just go, I'm going to remove myself because this is not going to be good.
And the same with anxiety, because anxiety can ruin concentration. It can ruin sleep. And it's the same as anger. It's really important to have techniques to manage yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will go to our next technique, and we can, let's see. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. We'll just go along to the next technique. Okay. Okay, so the next one, we're going to do flowing lines. And this time we're going to slow down a lot, and we'll be drawing flowing lines quite slowly. So we're looking at a marker and a piece of paper. And I'll just show you some of the kinds of marks you might make. We're going to fill a page, but just with rounded flowing lines, and slowing down and just concentrating on making more flowing curves gives your brain something to focus on. And again, it allows you to have other thoughts sort of fade into the background because you're focusing on just making lines. So this time, instead of just venting, we're trying to focus the brain so that it does something that's sort of rhythmic, and that helps calm us down. And because we're working slowly, it also helps just calm us down. So these are just some of the kinds of marks. Basically, you're just filling a page with marks. Doesn't matter what it looks like again. And I will show you in just a minute. So these are the kinds of squiggles that you can make. And you can do one of these, you can do 4 of these. Doesn't matter. That's up to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got some really nice little colored pencils. I made sure that I had read those ready to go.
Great.
And I agree. It's just about really letting yourself really be in the moment and concentrating on the feeling the pencil actually, or the marker actually touching the paper. So it's a really great way of doing that as a mindfulness tool. So that way you turn off any other thoughts that you have, and you're just concentrating on how the pencil is gliding along the paper.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Okay, so you can just see here, I'm just playing with a marker in green and just focusing on curving lines. So I'm doing some figure eights and just connecting them, and then some loops, just slowing down. And just notice your breath. And take some nice deep breaths while you're doing this. Just stay with the marker on the page. We're going to do a couple of these. Just doing some big loops, some big lines. Just stay with marks on the page. I'm not trying to do anything precious. You don't have to show it to anyone. I'm just going to pick another green and draw over the top. And yeah, just notice the feeling of the friction on the page of the marker. And notice little things like how much pressure you put on the marker and what that feels like. And let's do some curves, loops.
This would be perfect with some really nice relaxing music. Some nice meditation music is really way just to really clear those thoughts and just notice how the pencil's moving and, you know, letting go of any thoughts that pop in and just being in the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I might put on Enya or Vivaldi or Mozart or, yeah, a lot of classical music has 60 beats per minute, and that's the same as a resting heart rate. So often classical music is something that's quite good for that too. Yeah, and these are some samples. We're going to do one more drawing like this, and I'm going to do one like that that's in 2 shades of aqua. And yeah, so, and this one I like doing something that's kind of harmonious, and these are the kinds of marks I might make. So you might use, yeah, and you can use a fine marker or a fat marker, whatever you have. I've had people work with whiteboard markers from work. Whatever you've got is just fine. And yeah, you could use a tan and a pink. I'm using 2 shades of aqua and turquoise. So whatever you like, whatever you've got, that's just fine to work with. I do, however, limit myself to just 1 or 2 or 3 at the most colors, because you don't want your brain to have to make lots of decisions when you're doing this. You really want to just slow the brain down.
Slow it down.
Yeah, this time I'm slowing down a little bit more. And sometimes I'll do this a few times, and each time I'll slow down a little bit more. And then it's also a way of taking my temperature, sort of my emotional temperature. And at first I'm kind of frantic and there's all this energy to burn off. And then I'm able to slow down a little more and making the marks maybe a little denser, a little closer together, a little smaller, and just slowing down. And it takes a certain concentration to do a smooth curve. And sometimes I can't do that. And then that's okay. It's just noticing, okay, I'm pretty stressed right now. I'm just going to slow down and stay with this. And taking some breaths.
Yeah, concentrating on the breath work.
Take some breaths in and some breaths out.
It's a great way to remind yourself that it's okay to have like your own time to yourself. You know, like sometimes we need that quiet time just to really reflect and, you know, de-stress. And it's just nice to be able to do something like this on your own, just to take that music in, slow yourself down and be in the moment.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay with that. And just look at the color on the page and just notice things like how much pressure you put on the marker and what does that feel like. And if you push harder on the marker, does it make a different, fatter mark? Just little small differences. And I'm just spiraling around to different spots on the page that have some blank spaces. And loops and curves. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I get bored and I start thinking about other things. And it's fine to do that and just notice. And then just put those thoughts aside for now and come back to just making marks on paper. So you can choose to just give yourself a little block of time to just de-stress and let the brain rewire itself.
Yeah, just a few minutes a day, a quiet time can change so much for yourself. Really change your whole mindset. So,
yeah,
give yourself permission.
Yeah. This is something you can do in a lunch hour. It can be 10 minutes between a meeting. Yeah, and sometimes I do this before bed. And sometimes I've got racing thoughts because I've had a really busy day, or something upsetting's happened. And certainly, yeah, when I was in the worst of PTSD, I would find it very hard to get to sleep. And I might sit in bed and just draw for half an hour and just do this for myself to unwind and quiet the brain down. And then I'd be sort of bored and quiet enough that I could just go off to sleep. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's right. That's what I love. Love the coloring in. I use the adult coloring in books because I find that really ways just to let that stress go. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what this is another great way of just using a bit of art, bit of paper, bit of color, and just turning off those inner thoughts.
It's a really good help for managing anxiety or any strong emotions, and to give yourself these tools. And once you practice it for a while, your brain gets used to knowing what to do, and it's easier to de-stress once you've done it for a while, because then your brain sort of goes, oh, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do here. And it helps you regulate your nervous system, because when we're stressed, our adrenal glands are overwork, and that can mess up digestion and sleep and a lot of other processes. So learning to calm yourself down is actually quite important as a health issue, not just for feeling good, but also for whole body health. It's actually very important.
And I think, like we were talking about before, it's giving the tools to self-manage our own stress, and because things are going to pop up, things are going to happen in our everyday life, and of course, always reach out and get the help that you need, the professional help if you need, if you continue with those feelings and those thoughts. But finding the right tools that you enjoy to then bring in those mindfulness tools to help you change those thought patterns can really change so much in your life. And that's what I've found. I think that's what you found as well with Jean, is with the art and other tools. I love gratitude. I always like to bring gratitude into my daily routine as well, and just having those tools there for when those stressful times pop up, and when you can feel yourself getting that anxiety or that stress, or you're struggling to concentrate. That's when the mindfulness tools can really help you to bring you back to feeling that little bit more calmer and ready to go.
Yep, definitely. So we'll just stay with this for a few more minutes.
Even just watching that's so calming, Jean, just watching your glide that pencil along.
Yeah. Yeah. And, sometimes you make something that is pretty and you sort of go, oh, I actually kind of like that. And that's fine. You can cut it up and use it for cards. You can do all sorts of things with it, but it's more about the process rather than the end result. So that's what's important. Let's see, I think I've just got a few samples of things here that I can show you. Yeah, so we'll just review what we've done. Yeah, so we did the chaos drawing. So we did some circular lines. We did some angled lines. And whatever works for you is what works for you. So that's just fine. Yep. And then these were done with a graphite pencil, which is really nice because you can make really hard, dark marks. And then we did the flowing lines. So and slowing down. So from fast and loud music or with a strong beat to flowing lines and something much more mellow, much slower, much calmer. And so you can use that as a process to manage yourself. And then these are a whole bunch of chaos drawings that are just a whole variety of creative mix. So just fun to see what's possible, different ways you can play with it. Yeah, and you can actually use this techniques for different kinds of drawing. Yeah, there's lots of different things you can do this with this, but just today we're using it for just relieving stress. Okay, all right, I'll stop sharing and I'll hand over to you because I'd love to see another of your techniques.
I thought I'd just show you I use a little bit of color there just to help, flow it along, and then there's some other different colors in there as well.
Yes. Oh, that's lovely. Yep.
Just to slow myself down and, let it be calm and relax. I think that's, as we were saying before, that being in the moment, and just concentrate on your breath and slowing ourselves down, because that's what we don't do that enough. We really don't do that enough. And so we're going to actually go now to another breathing technique, and I actually call it going with the flow. So like going with the flow with the pencil, helping us get back into flow. So we're going to help you learn how to slow down. So I'm just going to push my chair back just a little bit because what I want to do is I want you to make sure your feet are flat on the ground. So you don't have your feet crossed. I'm terrible when I sit on my chair. I tend to cross my feet. So make sure your feet are flat on the ground. And we're going to start with our hands, like the palm of our hands are actually like on our thighs. So near your knees, just here in front of us. And we're going to do a nice slow breathing technique. And when we start to breathe in, we're breathing in, our wrists are bent down like this, ever so slowly, and we're raising them up to eye level. Then the palms are coming out, and then we're bringing the palms back down to our thighs. And this is helping us to open up the airways, to slow ourselves down, especially like if you are, like you really need to just slow, like you're feeling that little bit of stress. Using the movement through the breath can really slow you down and change your total thought patterns. So let's start with that. We're going to do 3 deep, nice breaths. So let's start with our hands on our thighs, near our knees, and slowly breathing in. Deep breath in, holding that breath, putting the palms out, and then deep breath out. Really letting that oxygen out. Beautiful. Let's really slow it down. Deep breath in. And then deep breath out. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. I want you just to rest your hands on your thighs there and get nice and comfortable. Relax those shoulders. Try to get as comfortable as you can. And I want you to clear your thoughts. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. And let's take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Now, any thoughts that pop in, I want you to say thank you to them and just let them go. And I just want you to sit here nice and quiet and just concentrate on your breath. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. I want you to take your thoughts back to where we were in the beginning when we first arrived. Were you feeling a bit anxious? Were you a bit unsure? Were you like unknown of what was going to happen? You had those feelings. I want you just to acknowledge those feelings for a second. Let's take another deep breath in. Deep breath out. I want you to scan your body and notice how it's feeling. You might be feeling that little bit of tension in there, that unknown. Your heart might be just that little bit beating a little bit faster. Just concentrate on your body and just tell yourself that you're okay. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. There's no right or wrong. These feelings are your own. Let's just take some time just to sit there in those feelings and concentrate on our breath. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Now I want you to scan once again over your body and notice how it's feeling. Are you feeling that bit more calmer? Are you less stressed? Or even if you're feeling the same, that's okay. These are your own feelings. I want you just to take some time and tell yourself that you are okay. You are perfect just the way you are. Now let's concentrate on our breaths again. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Deep breath in and deep breath out. And let's just sit quietly just for a moment. And I want you to thank yourself for taking this time for you. This time to help you slow down. The time to help you learn new skills, to bring new techniques into your everyday. Let's scan over our body one more time and notice how it's feeling. Start from your head and just slowly work your way down to your toes and concentrate on your breath. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Now just bring your attention back to me for a moment, and we're just going to do the flow movement. We're just going to do 2 flow breaths. Now remember, we're starting to breathe in, head wrists are slightly bent. Deep breath in, palms out, and then deep breath out. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed that and you're feeling that little bit more calmer and you've learned some amazing techniques. How are you feeling, Jean?
Good. Yeah, a lot calmer. And I love working with you. And I think having a group too, you just have there's more energy in having a bit of companionship and sort of going through the session together. And yeah, it helps to just slow down. And
Absolutely.
it works. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. And actually, I'm going to say that one of the best mindfulness tools is connection. Always connect with people. And if you're feeling that little stress, talk to a friend, reach out. Connection is one of the best mindfulness tools ever. So
yeah. And everyone has received a worksheet. So our connection details are on the worksheet. You're welcome to connect with us on LinkedIn. And we're also happy to have a conversation about any ways we might help any of you. So feel free to get in touch. And just want to say thank you to everybody for showing up today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thanks.